History made, record broken, goals scored, tackles made, saves, and all that and more we had over the past weekend where we had some interesting derby games and some hard-fought ones, not derbies, but he almost brought that kind of vibe, that kind of ginger. Vijay, warm welcome to the show. It is Football Analysis with me, your host, Amala Bakaraji, and I'm coming to you live from the studios of CTV. This show is brought to you courtesy at Damasley Foundation. We are very particular about your safety, so as we're enjoying football, as we're enjoying games, life, work, family, all that and more, make sure you prioritize your safety. Okay, so if you're a motorist, if you're a pedestrian, we all have our responsibilities on the road. So please don't drink and drive. Make sure you use your seatbelt. It is not a prop, it's for your own safety. Okay, and let's try not to use our phones while we're driving. Don't text, don't pick up phone calls. You could always park the car and then do whatever it is you need to do. As pedestrians as well, let's make sure we use the footbridges in areas where they are available. I mean, you find people crossing while standing underneath the footbridge. Really? Let's make sure we change that culture, right? Safety first at all times. COVID is still here, unfortunately. Let's make sure that we use our face mask, wash your hands properly with soap and water. I think it should be a lifestyle change by now. We should be used to it. It would be nice if this deadly virus can leave us and go, but unfortunately it's still here. So let's make sure that we prioritize our safety, family first, safety first, and all of that good stuff, okay? If you cannot get soap and water, ensure you use your hand sanitizers. You can get those small portable bottles and you can put it in your bag, and I mean, it's easier to access and all of that stuff. So we're talking about all things that went down in the world of football and a couple more to come. Of course, I mean, it's football. It never stops, right? I'm not doing this alone. With me, I've got Godwin Tanko on the show. Welcome, Godwin.
Yeah, thank you, Labake. How are you? Good afternoon to our esteemed viewers. It's nice to be back.
It is. I mean, well, I'm very well, thank you. We had football keep us company, so I was not lonely. I was not bored at all. I mean, I enjoyed the games. Was there any game that shocked you with the result or the proceedings, really?
Oh, absolutely. The West Ham Liverpool game. It was 90 minutes of fun. I watched that game with keen interest, and West Ham came out like a team that were on fire. West Ham came out like a team that needed to get that 3 points at the London Stadium, and they did. It was a powerful game. Brilliant game. Everybody came to, all the West Ham players, they came to their A game. The Liverpool players, some of them were on their A game, some of them weren't, but generally speaking, it was an interesting game, and the weekend was late, trust me.
It was lit. But okay, well, before we go to the London Stadium, all the drama that went down there, let's start first from the Old Trafford, where we had the Manchester Derby, and Manchester City outplayed, outfought, outwon. I mean, it was a game of the Blues. It was a question of how much goals, how much dominance really Manchester City could mount. Really, I didn't see United didn't come out the way we thought they were going to. Really, your thoughts on the game, really, because I feel as though looking at the lineup, I felt like it was quite balanced for both sides. I think either side brought their what's it called now. Both managers bringing their best foot forward, but it went the way of Manchester City from start to finish.
Yeah, Labake, I don't think if you're going to be honest, any football pundit or any football fan didn't expect anything less. Yeah, because Man United, they've been winning a lot of games this season by a stroke of luck and by the sheer brilliance of one man, Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. I think that's basically the standout player. At 36, very close to 37. In more than 4 occasions, in more than 5 occasions, he has been that savior for Manchester United, both home and away. And at the weekend, we didn't expect anything less. We saw two teams who have spent so much money in building their players over the last 5, 8, 10 years. But we've seen one team who has made significant progress in every aspect that you can think of in the game. And that's Manchester City. We have seen that we've said it time and again that since the exit of Sir Alex Ferguson, Manchester United has not made that progress that the Old Trafford faithful, that the football fan base across the globe expects them to have. That progress has not been there, and at the weekend they were sorely exposed, just the way they were exposed at the other time in Old Trafford against Liverpool. The difference between that day and on Saturday was the score line. Same old story. One was totally dominant. One was totally dominant from start to finish. I'm quoting Phil Foden here. They asked him after the game that what was his assessment of the game. He said we were totally dominant from start to finish. Peter Drury, the commentator on the night, he said two Manchester clubs were galaxy apart. It was clear, if not for the brilliance of David De Gea, we would have seen another whitewashing, another annihilation, another humiliation in a Manchester derby. All credit, all thanks, all praises goes to David De Gea on that night. He was a savior. Obviously, he did about 4 to 5 world-class saves on that night. If not, man, you would have seen people verbally crying in Old Trafford. So what are we saying? There were two teams who had a genius as a coach, Pep Guardiola. We have our criticism. Some of us, like myself, Tanko, I have my criticism about Pep Guardiola, but keep that aside. That guy is a genius. He is a genius. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's a nice man. He's a good man. But hey, good men don't play football. Good men don't coach football. You need a tactically sound mind to survive Old Trafford. When you are the coach of Manchester United, a lot is demanded of you. Because why? So much resources is being put in to form that squad. That squad is not cheap, Labake. That squad is not cheap.
That's exactly where I was going to, really. Because I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can...
Expensively. That squad is expensively assembled. Analysts have said that since Sir Alex left, that Manchester United has spent close to £1.2 billion on signings alone. That is just on the first team format. I'm not talking about how Manchester United go around the globe recruiting some of the best young talent in their academy at Carrington Training Ground. So much resources has been spent. You don't expect that kind of shambolic performance against Manchester United. You expect to see players come out to fight. You expect to see players come out to put their bodies online. We didn't see that. It was like another training in Old Trafford. It was another day at the office where you see the big boys outplaying their fellow big boys. It was the same thing we saw against Liverpool. That was the same thing we saw.
And that I'm going to. I want to highlight that particular performance because Manchester United taking on Liverpool. I mean, we're talking about one of the oldest rivalry in England, in English football, really. Yeah. And then we're talking about the Manchester Derby, where Manchester United fans, they absolutely ate. They absolutely are ball losing to Manchester City. They would rather, perhaps they had won this one, maybe lose their next couple of games, but bragging rights on the line. I mean, it's a rivalry, for crying out loud. And we did not see that. We did not see that energy from the United players. We did not see that vibe. We did not see that. Like you said, it was just like another training match. It was just another training, like an exhibition game, perhaps. That fight was just not there. And like you mentioned, if not for David De Gea, that scoreline should be depicting a more dominant scoreline, the way the Liverpool one did end, or perhaps that 6-1 thrashing Manchester City did give United at some point a couple of years back. It could have been a whitewash like that, and it actually should have been by virtue of the kind of performance that Manchester City put on the night. And big up squad. I mean, big up to Pep Guardiola, like you did mention. He outclassed. He outthought, he outdid everything Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, did do on the day, because it was as though it was just City just chilling. It could have been much more than that particular scoreline ended. So now I'm coming to you, Tanko. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So now I want to ask you, what excuse, perhaps, what could be the reason why Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can give as much as how expensive his squad is right now, for all of the money spent, for all of the investment made, every position. I don't think he can say any of his players are not up to par, or perhaps they are average. What could be the reason really for this performance from Manchester United?
I tell you something, Labake. I was watching Sky Sports, and the presenter asked Andy Cole, a former teammate of Solskjaer at 1999. He asked him, Andy, when you were teammate with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, did you see a coach in him? For me, that was a big question, and I keenly listened to Andy Cole, and he said he didn't want to verbally come out and castigate his former teammate and say, I didn't see a coach, I didn't see a leadership quality in him. He was like, okay, Ole was a quiet guy, didn't talk too much, he was reserved. He just tried to get on the pitch and do his job. For me, that was blatantly telling the world, and that was Andy Cole saying that I didn't see a coach in that guy. I didn't see a coach in Solskjaer. So that was his own a diplomatic way of telling the audience that he didn't see a coach emerging, talk more of taking over the reins at Manchester United.
Well, that's interesting.
I don't know the excuse that the Manchester United board are going to give while Solskjaer is still at the helm of affairs. I don't know the excuse. I don't know the faith that they have entrusted in that Norwegian, Ed Woodward, the Glazer family. They owe the Manchester United fan base an explanation why that guy is still the coach at this time after almost 3 years in charge.
No trophies to show for it.
He can do. He has had his time at Old Trafford. We have seen what he can do. We have seen his philosophy. Until now, Manchester United does not have a playing pattern. He complains about this position. The board gets him a player. He talks about the fan base. They talk about this position needs to be fixed. They get them that player. They talk about this position. They get them that player. Till now, you cannot pinpoint and say this is where Manchester United is lacking. They have good players, but you need a leader to tinker these good players. Abaka will always tell you, football is all about character. Football is all about character. If the manager doesn't have that character, that innate character to instill on his players, you will keep getting these shambolic performances that these players, they keep turning in week in and week out. And we saw it. We saw how players like João Cancelo, who are right footers, who were played at the left side, they come into the middle, they hit the ball, they play football with so much ease. Everybody on that day, as a Manchester City player, they were playing football with so much ease, and it was annoying as a Manchester United supporter. It was annoying. Seeing that these guys, there was no vibe, there was no energy,
no character, like you said. Exactly.
They were just running around with no fight at all. I don't have, as a coach or as a pundit, I don't have a problem with losing a game, but I have a problem if my team does not put up a fight. I have a problem with that, and that is the same thing we have seen again in Manchester United, against Liverpool, against Leicester, and against Manchester City at the weekend. I don't know what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is doing at that team.
But it does look like the Manchester United board are going to be sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It still looks as though Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job.
I heard he has gone to Norway. I was just looking at the news a while ago. I heard that he and his family, they've gone to Norway, and they give his backroom staff 5 days off. Like, with the crisis in Old Trafford.
Well, in fairness to him, though, maybe they are going to, rejuvenate, just rethink and try to sort out this.
Your family.
Yeah, family time is important.
I know it's important, but man, with the kind of, you live with them, come on, you live with them in Manchester, you always see them. Why do you need to take 5 days break and go back to Norway? I don't understand.
Family time is important, but hey, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's job is still in safe hands, as it seems. It seems as though the Manchester United board are sticking with him. I think they're trying to do the long-term thing, the long-term game, so to speak, and see what kind of results they can get from that. But hey, Manchester City did trounce Manchester United quite soundly. The scoreline might not have reflected the entire dominance of Manchester City.
The scoreline did not reflect the game at all.
It didn't.
Capacity,
It could have been much more
did
than
not
that. It could have
reflect the
been much more than that.
Way
And
more
it's
than
and
that.
it's quite
Way
interesting
more than
that.
Thanks to David De Gea.
And it's quite interesting that of the big boys, okay, Arsenal did win, but of the top four as it stood, Manchester City were the only one who picked maximum point, 3 points in the bag for them. With that, I lead to the Chelsea game. Sean Dyche had to be a satisfied man seeing his team pick up a point from the league leaders Chelsea over the weekend. And quite interesting. Let's look at the Chelsea team. I'm shocked Thomas Tuchel had to feel had fought really, because I think the kind of dominance his team did put up on the night, on the day, the fact that they were going to drop points, he had to sting because Chelsea had more than enough chances, enough time in front of the goal, chances created, but they just could not enforce their dominance. Perhaps we had Chelsea go ahead in that particular game. 1-0 it stood, and it was looking as though 3 points was all settled until Sean Dyche's team did they wake up a bit. They gave Chelsea a bit more fight, and the points were shared that particular day. So now let me talk to you really quickly, Godwin. Looking at the kind of, should Thomas Tuchel be worried, considering the fact that his team had to be the better team on they were the better side, but of course so much better. It didn't actually dictate or perhaps paint a picture of how dominant they were on the day. They went ahead, yes, good, all well and good, and yet they were not able to hold on till the very end, or perhaps double their lead, triple their lead, of which they had every opportunity to. If we look at the team stats, that particular one, we had Chelsea having 25 shots in total and Burnley having 5 shots. Chelsea having 4 shots on target and Burnley having 2. Looking at analyzing that particular stat, let's just take with the shots and on target and the entire shot. You have 25 shots in total and you have just 4 on target. Should Thomas Tuchel be worried?
He should be worried. For me in that game, I saw complacency from Chelsea. For me, yeah, I saw complacency. In the EPL, the competition is thick. You need to punish your opponent when you get the opportunity. That's what the Premier League is all about. It's not about whether you are playing at home, whether you are playing with a galaxy of stars, or whether you are playing with a lesser opposition. It doesn't matter in the Premier League anymore. Those days of where you get 100 chance and you squander 90, those days have passed. So for me, on that night, Chelsea were complacent. They didn't take their chances. But in the other run, we must also put into perspective that their 2 top number 9s were not playing. Lukaku is still out.
Timo Werner as well.
Yeah, Werner is still out. Kai Havertz is not a number 9. And for me, Kai Havertz has not fully gotten hold of the English game. Yes, he's still a work in progress. A young man is 21 or 22. He's still learning his trade. He's still trying to climb the ladder in the English game. But Chelsea did not take their chance and they got punished. And we know Burnley is your typical British team. They fight you, even if you are leading them by 4 goals to 0. They don't give up. They don't take their foot off the pedal. They always fight again and again. They are typical, and you can see the transmitting of energy from their coach Sean Dyche to his players. In the EPL, Burnley, season in, season out, they always have the least amount of signings. When it comes to the amount of money they spend on their squad, Sean Dyche always has the least amount of money to spend on his players. So he's a phenomenal coach, right? So when you're playing against a team like that the coach has so much energy and he transmits. This is what we talk about philosophy, transmitting your philosophy from yourself into your players, which Solskjaer has not done effectively. And you can see that in Sean Dyche. He goes to even a non-league side, a League One side, a League Two side, brings up the player into Burnley and unleashes him to the Premier League. So on that night, Chelsea were complacent, even though we can still give them an excuse that they are still playing without a striker. But when you play against a team like Burnley, who fight 90 minutes, every chance you get, you must bury it. They didn't bury it. In the 89th minute or 82nd minute or 81st minute, We saw how the name of this guy, I don't know, I've forgotten his name, Vidra. We saw how Vidra and the other guy, they punished Chelsea for their complacency. So against teams like Burnley, you don't take your foot off the pedal. If not, you're going to drop points against them, and that was exactly what we saw at the Bridge in the weekend.
I mean, we did see Nick Pope feature quite a lot in that particular game. That's how much chances.
Yeah, it was massive.
Yeah, Chelsea did have in front of goal. Yeah, and I mean, in the local parlance, I mean, we say they know they catch goal. Nick Pope was amazing, but of course, the Chelsea forward had themselves to blame, really. Kai Havertz had more than enough chances to actually punish Burnley. But like you said, he's not a natural 9, so we can give him an excuse there, but Chelsea really should have taken that one. But the leaders did drop points. So 1-1, it ended at the Bridge. So Burnley had to feel satisfied. I mean, you pick up a point from the league leaders. So Chelsea,
absolutely.
They have to be happy. They have to be happy.
It was a massive result.
I mean, you could see the celebration. You could see the celebration, Sean Dyche. It was as though he won the league.
I swear, man. You know, but I have to call out that cross from Reece James. That cross was phenomenal.
Beautiful. I mean, it's perfect.
The header from, it was every inch perfect. And the header from Kai Havertz was a goal from a legend. He scored the goal like he was a legend. Didier Drogba would have been proud of that goal.
I mean, he absolutely has to be. So we have the league leaders currently standing on 26 points. They are. So interesting, the English Premier. I mean, it's always interesting. The fact that you cannot say particularly. You look at your top 2, top 3. This team should be there, somewhere here, somewhere there. But you cannot for certain say this is the team that is actually going to do it. We have Chelsea, 26 points from 11 games played, and Manchester City with 23 points from 11 games played. And West Ham, the Hammers were they had to be excited. I mean, they were on 20 points before they played Liverpool, and now they leapfrogged their way into the 3rd position, 23 points from 11 after taking the lead, after beating Liverpool 3-2 at the London Stadium. So now let's talk about that particular game. David Moyes had to be impressed with the kind of fight his boys put up on the day, with the kind of energy they came out with. They outclassed Liverpool. They outplayed Liverpool. They were just more hungry, it seemed, and that eventually showed after 90 minutes. We had the first goal really early. I mean, how early the first goal came for West Ham. He had to add, it was like a statement of intent, really, from what the Hammers wanting to do on the night. That particular goal actually being counted as Alisson Becker's own goal as early as the 4th minute. And Liverpool did pulling one back from a beautiful free kick from Trent Alexander-Arnold, but it didn't eventually count. So we had the 1-1 draw standing at the halftime. Then the second half did resume. Liverpool had themselves to blame, really, with how much chance, how much time, how much space they gave to West Ham, and they got punished soundly for that. Let's talk about the masterclass of David Moyes on the day. I mean, he was able to take advantage of the kind of space. Liverpool, we know they keep a high line, and they got punished for that soundly at that one. And the fact that there were a couple of hit and miss from the boys for Jurgen Klopp's side. Now I'm talking about Sadio Mane wasn't at his best, and that showed because we saw him lose possession a couple of times, and that in turn put Liverpool in trouble. But big ups to David Moyes, we have to say.
Yeah, it was a masterclass from Moyes. You know, I always say that I owe Moyes an apology. When he got the West Ham job, I was one of those people that ruled him out. I condemned him. I felt that he has passed his prime. That he doesn't have anything to offer football. You know, after he left Manchester United, he had a stint in Spain with Real Sociedad, and it was a horror stint in Spain with La Real. And he came back to England, and he got the West Ham job on a temporal basis. You know, so I was one of those people that in West Ham, you guys are unambitious for you to go and bring a coach that has way past his prime, bringing him back to the EPL. But the man has been a phenomenon from when he took charge as an interim coach to when he was given the job on a permanent basis. On Saturday, for me, it was the best game of the weekend. West Ham versus
Liverpool.
It was by far the best game of the weekend because the biggest culprit for me, Labake, was the keeper, Alisson Becker. I have my issues with him. He's world class, yes, but the guy gives away too many points. He gives away too many points. The three goals, two of those three goals were haulers from him. The first goal, if not because of the resoluteness of the referee would have said, okay, there was an infringement from Ogbonna to Angelo Ogbonna to
yeah, but no. Okay, let's talk about that first game now. Let's talk about the first goal now. I did feel though that Alisson was a teeny bit impeded by Mikel Antonio. I did feel there was a push. There was a push, a teeny bit. It didn't count. Like I felt like he should have done better there. It was his position. I mean, it's you need to protect your terrain, so to speak. Alisson should have done better, but I did think that there was a teeny bit of impediment from Mikel Antonio.
It was Ogbonna actually. It was Ogbonna that would have been the reason why that goal wouldn't have stood. But yeah, the keeper did not. It was a hurler. He didn't time himself very well, and in one of those typical Alisson mistakes, that was a mistake. Ogbonna was facing the corner. Ogbonna wouldn't have known how you would have come from behind to hit the ball. It was purely the discretion of the keeper, which didn't do well. And they were hoping that, because that was a bit of challenge, it's a corner, I have to challenge for the ball. And that was exactly what the West Ham
players did.
And the ball, that was why it was counted as an own goal. It wasn't counted like anybody didn't touch the ball. It touched Alisson, his hands,
yes,
and went into the back of the net. So for me, Alisson was my number one culprit on that night. Then secondly, as fantastic as Trent Alexander-Arnold is, the guy is not a good defender. Fantastic player, in great form. But hey, first things first in football, why you are being put as a right fullback is because is first of all to defend your team, not score goals. That's the first thing that you are being brought in as a player to do in that position. The guy going forward is an amazing player. He's a fantastic player. Very good with assists, very good with free kick. But that is your secondary duties. That's not your primary duty. Your primary duty is to defend. That guy still has issues defending. That was why in his wing, we saw how it was a one-way traffic for Mikel Antonio. Antonio had hectares of space in the right full-back position. In fact, it would have been more than 3 goals that West Ham would have scored if West Ham had utilized
their chances. Absolutely, yeah.
Chances.
And Mikel Antonio had to be a question mark really, because there was a point in time where he was in on goal. It was in on goal and he stumbled. I mean, that happened one too many times really.
Yes,
and Liverpool should have been punished for that.
That was not at his peak. Well, if not the Antonio that we all know, very, very fast, very bullish, strong on the ground, very strong in the air. If he was on his A game that day, Liverpool would have been grossly punished. So that day we saw a team. Pablo Fornals, big ups to him, the Spaniard. His performances of late has earned him a recall to Luis Enrique's squad. Pablo Fornals was fantastic. Kozuma was very good on that night. The third goal too, it was another hurler from
Alisson,
Alexander-Arnold and Alisson Becker. Both of them were guilty. They gave Kozuma a free chance to score a free header at the rear end of the post. So for me that night, this guy, we all know that he's not the best of defenders. I have a bit of likeness for him, Joel Matip, but we know that he's not, when it comes to pace-wise, he's not up there. He's a bit on the slow side. And again, age is no longer helping matters for him. So Liverpool has to rely a lot on Virgil van Dijk for some of these things. So for me, I big up to West Ham United. They were fantastic on that night. They were wasteful. We must not forget to say they were wasteful too. If not, they would have punished
Liverpool
Liverpool
more
on
soundly
at the London
than
Stadium.
they did. And that particular win did earn David Moyes his first victory over Liverpool after a couple of clubs really that he has been around, from Everton
Yeah, absolutely.
to Manchester United to Sunderland, as well
Yeah.
as West Ham. His first win in 15 meetings with Liverpool, and that also earned his side their. I mean, they did end. It was quite interesting. They did end Liverpool's unbeaten run, 26 game unbeaten run. They ended
26
18
games, yeah.
wins and 7 draws. So big ups to the Hammers. They did phenomenal. I mean they've accumulated 23 points from 11 Premier League games, and this is the best they've done since the 75-76 season, as well as the 80-81 season. So big ups to David Moyes' side. I mean, they are in phenomenal form right now. Can you handle the hits the Amons are bringing? And with that, we move on to another London side, where Arsenal welcomed the Hornets to the Emirates Stadium, and Arsenal were victorious in that one. Emily Smith-Rowe, absolutely. I mean, he's been in phenomenal form. Amazing form, we've got to say. Mikel Arteta's side seems to be, the ginger seems to be back. Tago, you should be proud of your boys. Your boys are not smiling. They're even going for the title.
No, we are not going for the title. Labaka, are you whining me? Labaka, are you whining me? Are you whining me? We're not going for any title, man. We are still Arsenal is still there's still a lot of work to do. Not a great game against the Hornets. Not a great game, but
It was a tad scrappy, actually. It was a tad scrappy. I felt like,
yeah,
Arsenal, they lost the plot a couple of times, and if the Hornets had been a lot more industrious, Arsenal should have been punished. But hey, the Gunners did go home with the maximum points on the day.
Yeah, that is this thing about Arsenal. If they score a goal or two and it's been disallowed, I've noticed that about Arsenal for so many years. Way during the Wenger era, if they score a goal or two and it's being disallowed, it tends to take a lot of steam from the team. At the weekend again, we saw the same thing. The Saka goal, we saw the new rule. If a player is behind
A
the
goalkeeper.
keeper and the new rule generally, I don't want to go into that rule because FIFA and the FA they keep changing the
A
rules
lot of
every time
changes.
around.
So many that it takes a lot to actually keep up with it.
It takes a lot to keep up with the new rules of FIFA. So these days we are even confused on what the rule is, And it was that day I saw that particular rule. I was watching a game before that night, Blackpool, a championship game, Blackpool versus QPR. I saw a Blackpool player score the same goal that Bukayo Saka scored, and it was ruled offside. And I and another guy, because we were in the Barbing Saloon, we were livid. Why would this goal be an offside until it happened to Arsenal? And this kind of rule. But if it were two players that were at
The
the
back
back
of the
of the keeper,
goalkeeper.
it would have stood as a goal. But if there were two or more players that were at the back of the keeper, that was the new rule. We've not heard that until at the weekend. But it was a scrappy win for Arsenal. Smith Rowe with the goal. He didn't necessarily do fantastic, but the best player for Arsenal on that night was one of the most hated players at Arsenal, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He was very good, and Ben White too keeps improving from game to game. So it was generally a scrappy game, not the normal fluid Arsenal kind of football. But of course, the fans, we've said it time and again, you don't always need to win beautifully. Just
Get the win, just win. That's it, just win. Scrappy, beautiful, squeaky clean, just win.
Yes, just anyhow, just get that 3 points. So we are gradually beginning to see Arsenal winning scrappy games. So big ups to the Arsenal team. They are just 2 points behind Liverpool. The next game after the international break, they will be going to Anfield. So confidence for Arsenal going into Anfield. A lot of their players, they don't have much injury problems than they used to have. Many of their new signings, like Nuno Tavares, he has been phenomenal since he came to Arsenal, and even more still when Kieran Tierney has been injured. The young Portuguese left back has been fantastic. And in no distant time, I'm sure the coach of Portugal, Fernandes, is going to give him a senior call-up. So big ups to the Arsenal team. You don't always need to win beautifully. Just get your 3 points in the kitty, and that was exactly what they did at the Emirates on Sunday.
Yes, big ups to the Gunners. They are getting closer, maybe just closer to the EPL title. We never know. We'll see how the rest, the next couple of games just turn out. And now let's move on to another fiercely and contested game. I'm talking about the game Everton taking on Tottenham Hotspur. We saw Antonio Conte taking charge of Tottenham, his first EPL game that he is for handling for Tottenham Hotspur. They did pick up their first win in the Europa Conference League. He had a lot of drama that particular game, quite a lot of red cards and all of that good stuff. But talking about the game, Everton taking on Tottenham Hotspur, I was not excited about the fact that it ended goalless, but drama that game did give us, action it did give us. It was a question of the team that was more hungry, but hey, both teams eventually settled for the points to be shared. We had, interesting to say the very least, we had Tottenham Hotspur having no shots on target, and we had Everton taking 2 shots on target. There was also a red card in that particular game, but hey, the spoils were shared, and both managers, I'm sure, will be going back to the drawing board to see what they need to sort out in their side.
Yeah, Antonio Conte came and met a team that's absolutely not firing on all cylinders. We know Tottenham, they are a high-scoring team on their day. Yeah, so Conte showed them. I'm sure he's expecting what he's getting right now. Harry Kane has never been this poor. For the first time in his career, in their game against Manchester United, Harry Kane was booed. He was booed by his own Spurs fans. So you think on a low right now, and for me, a coach that has a lot of ginger, a lot of spur, that was the right coach that he would have brought. The future is going to explain better, but the best guy in the market was what Tottenham got. So we hope that they get the value for recruitment that they got for Antonio Conte, but it was not the start that he would have loved. But we should also not forget that Everton is not a pushover. They have a good manager, a very, very seasoned manager who has coached the best teams in the world, Rafa Benitez. So Tottenham, it would be out of their mind to be expecting an easy game against Everton. You know, not much to be cheerful about attack wise. You know, but at the end of the match, Mason Holgate got a silly red card. His challenge, you know, on the Tottenham player was absolutely silly. It was uncalled for. You know, that challenge was like a leg breaker, right? So Tottenham, after the international break, I'm sure they know that they need a lot of talking to do to themselves. Song Heung-min, Harry Kane, this is one of the most fiercest and deadliest strike duo in world football. But for the past weeks, they've not been dominating people like they usually do. So it's a lot of concern for Tottenham and their fans. This is not the start that they wanted in the Premier League. When the Premier League started, they were a team on fire. But boom, from nowhere, that fire was
came crashing down, yeah,
with bad results. So, but I'm sure that with Conte on board, things are going to get improved. But for Everton, there's still a lot to be desired from that team. Their top striker, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's always injured, and it's spelling bad omen for that team. So I hope that after the international break, he's going to come back from his injury and start firing again.
All right, then, and let's a positive, I'm sure, for Antonio Conte to pick up from the Tottenham Hotspur game. Not a lot of positive, but the fact that they were able to keep a clean sheet. Not because Everton were so great, but at least as bad as bad, they were able to keep a clean sheet in that particular game. And I'm sure that's something interesting, really, for Antonio Conte's side. I'm sure he's going to take that as a positive, because we know Antonio Conte, he doesn't like to concede goals. He doesn't like to ship in goals. That Tottenham have been conceding in threes, actually. Most of their goals they've conceded this season has come in threes. I'm sure Antonio Conte will be taking that as a win, really, even though it wasn't a win technically. But hey, guys, hit me up. Let us know your reaction, your thoughts, your comments, all of that good stuff about the games. So make sure you talk to us on our Facebook page. We are there and would absolutely love to hear from you. On Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube is the same, and those CTV Live. And on TikTok, it is CTV Live 1. You could also reach me on the WhatsApp number. Don't call the number. Just send in your messages. All right, 0901 5601 908. All right, so just leave me your comments and your thoughts and your reactions about the games that are I mean, they passed the international weekend. What are you expecting from your teams to come back with, or some days you like for them to leave and not come into after the international break with? Hit me up, let me know all about that. Okay, so now we're moving, we're traveling, we're going to the La Liga. Let's go to Spain, where we had goals. We had goals. We're talking about the game, the Barca game, Celta Vigo taking on Barcelona. It was interesting to say the very least. We had 6 goals. It was a 6-goal thriller. I mean, I had fun. We had Barca busting the first half and Celta Vigo taking the second half. So it was a game of 2 halves, that particular one. We had Iago Aspas, a focal point. Focal one.
Aspas, that's the man.
Yeah, focal one for Celta Vigo. It was everywhere. And for Barca, Ansu Fati getting the first goal for them. Sergio Busquets getting the second. Memphis Depay getting the third. I'm sure Barca at some point felt that game was, I mean, done and dusted. No problem, no worries. But hey, Celta Vigo had...
Is that introducing young stars?
Yeah, they had another one coming. Celta Vigo had a different plans. And the man Iago Aspas, like you did mention, it was hit. It was it for Celta Vigo, really. 3-3 it ended. But hey, there's a new sheriff in town for Barca. Sergi was the one who took charge of that particular game, because that Xavi confirmation, being the new coach of Barcelona, came towards, really, I mean, it was too short a notice, really. But Xavi now is in charge. Your thoughts on the game, Godwin? Let's see. What do you think?
Yeah, it was an amazing game. Iago Aspas, all hail Iago Aspas. He has been aging like fine wine, you know. Barca thought that they got the match wrapped up, and alas, they never knew that they were in for a shocker. You know, it was an amazing game. The first half, it was 3-0. All the guys scoring, and Ansu Fati after 6 minutes, and Ansu Fati scoring, Sergio Busquets scoring a rarity.
Memphis Depay as well.
Scoring goals is not his forte. Yeah, then Depay with a beautiful header. I watched the game, you know, and it was like a wrap in after 45 minutes. Then the second half, they started bringing their little children, Balde, Gavi, and the likes. You know, they thought they wrapped the game, but they never knew that they were in for a shocker. You know, and thanks to Celta Vigo legend Iago Aspas, who had a torrid time in England at Liverpool, but when he went back to Spain, the guy has been on fire. I think these days he should be 33 years or 34, but the guy doesn't seem to be slowing down. 2 wonderful goals, and again another goal from Old Warhorse, the former Man City player Nolito. You know, and the comeback was epic. After 3-2, when the whole fan base of Celta Vigo thought that the match had ended, Iago Aspas came to the party again. A stunner, and the whole stadium that day, the whole of the city of Vigo, there was going to be a wild party, because that comeback looked like they've just won the La Liga for the first time in 70 years. You know, it was a massive game. That's just what you want to see. That's why we love this game called football. You never can say never. It is never over until it is over. And Barcelona, they were complacent. The coach was complacent, because he started bringing in some of these little kids. He thought that the game was done and dusted. Araujo came in, Balde came in, Gavi came in, and a couple of other players. They thought they wrapped up the game, but they never knew that Celta Vigo had a lot in their sleeves to prove. And kudos to Celta Vigo coach. The guy was massive. He was if I got a yellow card for his energy on the touchline, you know. So it was a beautiful game, you know, because of Messi had left, Ronaldo had left La Liga, and you notice that in Nigeria, the viewership has reduced. But you know, when we keep getting results like that, when you keep getting fantastic results like that, it tends to bring the viewership
Back.
back to the La Liga, it tends to increase the viewership, because of those two mega stars who have left. So it was a beautiful game to behold. Congratulations to Celta Vigo. Congratulations to their players. Congratulations to their coach, and congratulations to the people of Vigo for that amazing copybook stuff. That comeback is going to be in the annals of history for a long time to come.
Big up Celta Vigo. I'm sure they've got no complaints whatsoever regarding that game. Barca will be the one thinking where they did go wrong in that particular one. Let's move on to the bitter rivals of Barcelona. I'm talking about no other than Real Madrid. Real Madrid taking that one. Madrid doing the business over Rayo Vallecano. 2-1 it ended. And for Carlo Ancelotti's side, you've got to mention the kind of form Vinicius Jr. and Karim Benzema are on. Toni Kroos also getting himself on the score sheet. The combination, I really have to talk about that one. Vinicius Jr. and Karim Benzema, they seem to have found this bond. It seems to be working flawlessly, really, for Carlo Ancelotti's men. Big ups to them. Rayo Vallecano did pull one back, but hey, it was too little, too late. The Madridistas were home safe and dry. So big ups to Carlo Ancelotti's boys, don't you say?
Yeah. I think Vinicius is beginning to fulfill the prophecy that was spoken about him right from when he was in Brazil as a 17-year-old kid. I think he's beginning to fulfill that prophecy. Like, he's going to be a world beater, he's going to be a world superstar. He might not be as big as Neymar Jr., but he's obviously climbing the ladder properly. So his combination with Karim Benzema is yielding a lot of fruits. From the tail end of last season entering this season, their combination has been lethal. Their combination has been very fruitful. And of course, you can only expect to see them tormenting defenses so much. For Karim Benzema, what more can we say about him? He has always been a lethal striker. Go and check his record from when he was a youth team player at Olympique Lyon. He was a torment in the youth team of Olympique Lyon. At 16 years, he was not yet 17. He was already a first teamer with Olympique Lyon. He was the one that he was part of those guys that championed their 5 years winning streak of the Ligue 1 when he was there. It was because of that form that made Real Madrid to bring out the cash and sign him. He has always been an amazing servant. When he's not scoring, he's assisting. If he's not assisting, he's falling back to defend. Karim Benzema is what you call your absolute professional and a club legend. He has gone into the history books as one of the greatest ever players, not just a striker, one of the greatest ever players to ever play
for Real Madrid
and the Le Bleu of France. Amazing guy. He's 33 years old now, but he doesn't seem to be slowing down. Big ups to him. Big ups to the Carlo Ancelotti's team for believing in young children, in believing in youth. A combination of the elderly, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, and a combination of the younger boys. And we can see that the younger boys are beginning to come to the party. They're beginning to take responsibility. And this Real Madrid team can only get better. Ronaldo has left, but this team, the ambition and the progress has not left that team. They struggled a bit after Ronaldo left, but you can see that they've picked up and they are doing well for themselves. Big ups to Real Madrid.
Big ups to Real Madrid right there. The ship already, I think, has steadied. They seem to have gotten their footing back. Now let's talk about the bitter rivals of Real Madrid. I'm talking about Atletico Madrid. They gave us some interesting game. That was Valencia holding Atletico Madrid to a 3-3 draw. And for it's quite interesting because we know that Diego Simeone's side, they're not a side to ship in the goals like that. They're not a side to concede so much goal. At some point, it was as though Valencia were out of the game, but no. Towards the later stages of that game, I mean, the beautiful thing about football, the fact that, you don't rest on your oars until the referee blows his final whistle. If you do, you're going to get shocked. And Atletico Madrid, where the one saw Luis Suarez getting on the score sheet, Antoine Griezmann as well on the score sheet, Simeone Salsco as well getting on the score sheet. So it was as though Diego Simeone's men were good. But no, for the Valencia guys, they showed fight. They showed they were hungry, really, and they had to share the spoils with Atletico Madrid. I feel like if that game had gone on perhaps 10 more minutes, Valencia just could have gotten it. They just could have outclassed Atletico Madrid and gotten the 3 points. But hey, that did not happen. Valencia and Atletico Madrid settling for a 3-3 draw. It happened to 1 point apiece for both sides.
Yeah, congratulations to my childhood team, Valencia. I've always been a Valencia team since I was a child, since the days of Romario. Uh, I've always been a Valencia fan. So whenever they do well, I feel very happy. Whenever they don't do well, my team doesn't do well. But at the weekend, Valencia is beginning to bring back that spirit, that Mestalla spirit that we used to know them of old, in time of Romario, the time of Marta, the time of Guys Mendieta, the time of the keeper Canizares, and those big players. That for the past 3, 4, 5 years, the team has been struggling. Sometimes they even struggle to be in the La Liga. But of this season, we begin to see a young Valencia team they are challenging people. They begin to come back from seemingly impossible results. That begin to come back. So against a compact team, a very solid defensive and midfield team like Atletico Madrid, we saw them coming back from the dead, and I watched an interview where the journalist they interviewed the Croatian defender by Cycle, and he was very, very disappointed that the game had to turn out in that manner. So but big ups to Valencia. I like the fighting spirit. I watched their game against Mallorca at the Mestalla. They were two goals down with one man and with their South Korean midfielder getting a red card. But they came back and they equalized and they got a 2-2 draw. The same fight they did against Atletico Madrid. That is what you want as a coach to see in your team. That fighting spirit, that never say die spirit. Just the way we spoke about Manchester United, that spirit is no longer there. And in Spain they don't overpay players, so that hunger is still there. Unlike in England, where an average player like a Fred makes a lot of money every week. So, but you see the Valencia player, like the American Musa and those guys, if you check their salary compared to what they pay their counterparts in the EPL, it is nothing compared. So you see that fight, that hunger is there. So it was a beautiful game to behold. 2-3 draws in the La Liga at the weekend. It can only get better.
It can only get better. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid are the victims of that one because both teams were ahead, but they had to settle for a draw in their respective games. Now, let's move on to the Serie A, where we also had another derby. It was at Fort. The scoreline really did not paint the picture of the drama that went down at the San Siro. Both Milan sides settling for 1 point apiece. AC Milan 1, Inter Milan 1. Inter Milan did go ahead in that particular game from the penalty spot, courtesy an interesting penalty call, and Cassia, the man who was responsible for that particular penalty. And Inter Milan did make no mistake; they did convert from that spot as early as the 11th minute. Kanoglu doing that one, and give it 5 minutes, 6 minutes, the story did change a bit on the other side of the divide. Your thoughts on the game, Godwin? I was entertained. I was very, very entertained. I don't know, but I did feel like AC Milan should have changed that one. They seemed to be the better side towards the latter stages of the game, but Inter Milan proved to be a bit more sturdier, and that one it didn't happen. So 1 point apiece, both teams did settle for.
Anyway, when it comes to the San Siro derby, form is thrown into the gutter. Form is thrown out of the windows. These are two teams that I like very much. I like their game. I like their football of recent. For the past 2 seasons, Inter has been a steady team, especially in the Serie A. AC Milan under Pioli, a much more abused coach. I've never seen a coach that the fans, when he was appointed,
disrespected so, right?
That man, the disrespect was something else. But the man has gradually cleared everybody's doubt. He has taken AC Milan. They play good football. He has introduced a lot of very young players into the AC Milan squad. It was a fun game. I didn't watch the whole of the game because there were so many games at the weekends. I was I was busy tuning in. I watched this a little, I watched that a little. So I have not watched the full game of the AC Milan game. But man, I saw a free kick by 40-year-old Zlatan. The venom of that shot, Labake, the venom from the legs of that 40-year-old, it was something else. So big ups to AC Milan, and we hope to see better San Siro derbies next time.
Better San Siro derbies. And it's interesting to know that the AC Milan form right now, it's as though we're seeing two different sides, even though they are technically the same side. We're saying the AC Milan we see in Europe and the AC Milan we see in the Serie A. They are two different sides entirely. In Europe right now, it's as though they don't understand what the Champions League is all about anymore. You see, they seem to have forgotten that. But in the Serie A, please don't even call. I mean, 32 points they picked up from 12 games. They are in phenomenal form, like to say the very least. And it's quite interesting. It says, I don't know. I'm thinking the fact that Inter Milan did take it, did win the Serie A title last season. It's giving AC Milan some kind of push. That no, we don't go agree. We'll give Inter Milan some trouble, some worries. Yeah. I mean, Milan they've lost practically all their. Okay, they did draw one. They did draw one in the Champions League, but they've lost. I mean, just 1 point from how many games played. So interesting to say the very least. But coming to the Serie A, it's a different Inter Milan. They currently sit in second position. They're equal on points with the side sitting in the first position. So it's quite
Napoli.
Napoli right there. So it's quite interesting to say the very least. And big ups to AC Milan. We'll see what the rest of the season does have in store for the Milan side. We'll see if they can go all the way. Maybe give Napoli a bit more trouble because Juventus they don't seem to be the one to do that right now, except the story does change. We'll see how the rest of the season does go in the Serie A. I mean, fingers crossed. I want drama, please. I want goals. I want the excitement and all of that good stuff. So now let's travel. We're traveling to the Ligue 1. We're talking about the Bordeaux and Paris Saint-Germain game, beg your pardon. It was the Neymar Junior show. Neymar was on point. He was on fire in that particular game. He had a couple of hits and miss. I mean, personally, I feel like he's losing of possession because, I mean, why do you play your team in trouble? Why do you do that? But hey, eventually, Paris Saint-Germain did take that one, 3-2. But even though they won that game, even though they are quite clear of their next opponent, I think they're about 10 points clear in this the Ligue 1 right now, is 11 or thereabout. But Mauricio Pochettino's side, they have not jello. Something is still a bit more. Something has to give. Something absolutely has to give for Mauricio Pochettino.
I don't want to put too much. I know the pressure of assembling a star-studded side like PSG, what they are doing. I know the pressure that comes along with it all over the world. People expect every match for PSG to just blow their opponents away. But this is football. It doesn't always work like that. Because of your name or your price tag and name actually don't play football. So it was a close call, because a lot of criticism have been coming the way of Neymar, that he has not been scoring a lot of goals. That most of his goals that he has gotten in the last 6 months are mostly penalties. That he has not been.
Actually, that was his first goal. Really, was the first goal he scored this season from open play. He hasn't.
Yes, from open play. Yeah, so that criticism has always been there. So, but I think it was important that he answered his critics by scoring against a big side like Girondin, Bordeaux. So it's a good one. I like the fight that Bordeaux gave. But for me, I think the Ligue 1 has already been wrapped even before we get to January. Because for now, if as early as this season, as early as the season is, it's around 10 or 11 points difference from second place. For me, the season has been wrapped. So let's just wait and see how many points difference PSG is going to use to win the league. But I'm happy for Neymar because at least he has been able to answer his team that he's not yet finished. But I think the Brazilian factor is going to come into Neymar because research has it that a lot of Brazil players, a lot of their forward players, when they start getting to 18 and 28, 29, they start to dwindle, unlike their other South American players. So I think that factor is going to affect Neymar, but I don't want it to affect him. because I'm a fan of him. He brings a lot of excitement to football. An exciting footballer, even though sometimes he overdoes his things, but you cannot. That's just who he is. He brings a lot of fanfare to football. So we need those his theatrics in football. Sometimes it makes the game more interesting. But big up to PSG. And I like Pochettino. He's one guy that even he doesn't do wrong to me. He's one guy that even his team is not doing well, I just love the guy. I love the guy. Like, he does no wrong to me. So I'm happy for him and his PSG team.
Big ups to PSG. I mean, as early as November, early November, Paris Saint-Germain are 10 points clear of the next opponent. They have learned are the next person, really, second position, 24 points from 13 games, while Paris Saint-Germain have 34 points from 13 games. So 10 points difference we have right now. Nice with 23 points, Marseille on 23 points as well. So the top four is interesting. The top two isn't so interesting. I mean, 10 points in total, so quite interesting. All right, this is where we call it a wrap for today. Thank you so much for coming through, Godwin Tanko. I mean, it's always beautiful talking football with you.
Always my pleasure. Always my pleasure to be here.
And we'll see when Arsenal will win the league. I'm not throwing shade. I wish the Gunners all the best. This is where I say my Betty buys on the show. It's time for me to carry my bags and all of that good stuff. Make sure you keep it logged right here on CTV. We've got amazing content for you, just for your viewing pleasure. Ensure that you prioritize your safety. Like I always say, life is way too short not to experience football. But hey, make sure you stay safe while you are at it. The international break is upon us. We'll be getting to enjoy international football, and we'll be sure to keep you up to date and informed about that one. I'm still your girl, Amala Bakiraj, and I'm saying stay safe, stay well, and bye for now.